Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. So in today's video I'm going to show you my Facebook launch strategy that I have been using since the last year that I started, and I basically documented everything in this channel for you in order for you to get the best value. So I'm going to show you my Facebook launch strategy. I'm going to show you A to Z, how I test creative, how I test interest, when I do lookalike audiences, even though with the iOS update, and basically everything. But before I start the video, I just wanted to mention that we are doing a 45-minute consultation call every week. If you want to enter the giveaway, all you need to do is subscribe to the channel, comment down below ecom22, and smash the like button. So guys, that's it, you're now in a giveaway. So without further ado, let's just hop onto the content. Okay guys, so as you can see here, we're on my screen, so I'm just going to start the presentation for you and explain everything one-on-one. Hope you enjoy it and get value. So guys, we're going to start with prospecting. Basically what it means, sandbox campaign. It means that we're going to test our creatives here. So I'm going to break it down for you. So sandbox campaign are used for testing. In this campaign we test creatives, we test audiences in order to find the best ones and scale it. Test everything in sandbox campaigns first, and then move up to the proven audiences and creatives for the scaling campaigns. This avoids wasting money trying to scaling unprofitable creatives or audiences. And in this campaign guys, sandbox, you don't need to optimize, you are just trying to get data and see what works. Regarding the budget of the campaign, I usually myself start with $50 depending on the product price, but since all of the products most of the time that I test are under $40, so I usually go with $50 a day, and based on that I let it run for 2 days. Basically, if the pixel is new, I let it run for 3 days. If it's not, I let it run for 1 to 2 days, depend on the pixel basically. So I let it run and see how it is, right? I try to see the results and see if everything is okay. When I try to test, I don't really look at the purchase. As I explained in my Facebook ad course I uploaded for you a couple of weeks back, so I usually look at the cost per link click, which is CPC, and CTR, basically how many people click on this ad, and cost per content view basically, guys, and see okay, how was it the cost per content view for this interest, how was it for the next one, and next one, because cost per content view makes a big impact. You have to very much look at it and make your decisions based on that as well, because I do not make my decisions based on purchase or initiate checkout or add to cart, because after iOS update those informations are irrelevant. No matter what tracking system you are using, no matter what service you are using or what app you are using, it's not always accurate, so you cannot base your decisions on that. And basically on the sandbox campaigns, we have two types of sandbox campaign, which is an audience sandbox, which is we test interest, and a creative sandbox, which I will explain to you furthermore down to the line. So guys, this is a simple 4 steps you can follow in order to make most out of your ads. This strategy will never get outdated, because success with Facebook only comes with creatives, and I don't care what anybody else says. If they say there is a new strategy or everything, they're just talking BS, guys. Trust me, it's only with creatives. You can just have simply a broad campaign and basically no interest, just age and country, and just update good creatives every time in there. I promise you it can easily take you to $6,000 to $7,000 a day easily, without any strategies or any types of bullshit. And of course, if you hear people saying that Facebook changes all the time and we have so-called new strategy, as I said before, be aware, because just bullshit, and they can't basically do anything. I have followed this simple strategy, and this is basically on creatives and creatives only since last year that I started. I have followed this simple strategy that is based on creatives and creatives only since the last year that I started. And as you know, I have generated multiple 6-figures brand with this strategy only. So let me break this down for you one by one. So as you can see here, we have 4 steps here: initial creative, initial data collection, data driven targeting, and creative optimization. This is the 4 steps that you need to do in order to scale to even $50,000 to $20,000 a day, guys. So initial creative test is when you test your creatives. I'm going to explain to you one by one and go through them more in depth, right? So initial creative is test 3 optional creatives, right? Here I say test is optional but recommended, because it really is recommended if you want to scale your brand for a long term, because 2 or 3 creatives only can last you for so long. So you have to recycle those creatives in order to scale and basically remain profitable, right? Keep everything stable. I recommend you to test 3 creatives in a creative sandbox campaign. Basically what sandbox is just testing campaigns, and you can test that with either PPE campaign that I do not recommend anymore. You can just test it in a conversion campaign with your best interest or just some stacked up interest that is related to your niche, and you can check all of it. And how you can see like what metrics you have to look at, you can either watch my Facebook ad course that I uploaded for you. It's 1 hour long. I explain to you everything, how to read data and all that, but you can stick in this video as well because I will break down this for you. Initial creative test. Okay, in this step we're going to test our creative, which is the most important part, guys. Is very important, this part. So initial creative test: pause each ad set after getting 3,000 impressions. Before iOS updates, like basically 1,000 impression was more than enough, but now 3,000 impressions. But now at the moment for myself, I don't just pause at 3,000 either. Like I just let it to spend like $50 to $60 in one day, and I just after I read all the data. And that's because like of course I have more budget, but for you guys that are on budget now, you can just let it like run until it gets 3,000 impressions, and after you get 3,000 impressions you can just turn it off and then judge the creative based on that, right? So you can see here you can set up an automated rule here as well, and it's very easy basically. And how you're going to judge which creative is the best one is you're going to judge at the CTR link click, as I explained to you before, like how many people have clicked on the link after watching the ad, and cost per content view and cost per add to cart. This before was cost per unique content view, because unique is when we have two costs, right? Cost per content view and cost per unique content view. Cost per content view can be like I can go to your website 100 times and Facebook will count that as 100 times, so it is like 100 people, right? But when you do at cost per unique content view, it shows like even when I go to your website like 300 times, Facebook just going to show that as one person, so it's just not going to spam the data, right? So that is more accurate. But at the moment after iOS update, we don't have a cost per unique content view anymore. Facebook doesn't provide you that, so all we can do is just cost per content view and cost per add to cart, that you can judge your ads with it. Because like mostly right now I judge my ads with cost per content view. Why? Because my pixel have more data. But for you that at the beginning you need to judge on cost per add to cart or cost per purchase, that is more accurate for you because you don't have that much of a data, so you need to wait. So this is how you're going to set things up, guys. So ad set 1 going to be like the location. You're going to choose only one location, but put a couple of locations in here in case you're in different countries: Sweden, Finland, Spain or France, doesn't matter, like whatever the European country is. We're not going to go with like 5 countries, only one, as I recommend you always. And then we have the best interest, automatic placement, and 24 hours runtime, right? So we just let it rip for 24 hours. Automatic placement, you don't change anything else. And the best interest on that niche, if you are testing it, if it's the beginning, of course, if you're running ads, you just stack up the interest or only one interest that is related to your niche, and you just go with that. If you ask me, I recommend you to choose the interest that doesn't have more than 100,000 audiences. And I know that maybe sound ridiculous to you, but when you're doing it in European countries, the highest audience you can get for one interest maybe 200,000 to 300,000. That depends on the country, of course. But for Sweden, for example, all of the interests that I target have 20,000 people in it, 30,000, 40,000, 10,000, 5,000, and all of them work. You know what, depend of course on your budget as well. But for me, I mostly don't go over $50. And ad 1 will be first video or image, everything else identical as the 2 other creative. Ad 2 second video, image, ad copy, and everything else will be same. And third ad will be same as well, but only a different video or image, right? Because you want to only see where the difference is coming from, so you only change one thing in each and one of the ads, which will be the video, right? And you let it run for 24 hours and just see after that cost your content view, cost per add to cart, and CTR, which one have the highest and the cheapest cost per content view, cost per add to cart, and that will be your winning creative. I recommend you to have the 2 to 3 winning creatives. That's why I'll tell you, always find a brand that is already doing it well, so they will give you many creatives, right? You can test it with their creative. After making $10,000 to $5,000 in profit, you can invest that money into your own creative and just get your separate way, right? Because copywriting problems can be a bit handy. Okay, now we are on the second step of the process. After finding a best creative on the first step, guys, now we're going to the second step, which is initial data collection, single interest, guys. Here is where we test single interest with our best creative in order to find the best interest faster and basically scale our interest and scale the campaigns, right? So use the cost per purchase as a main metric, guys. So what I mean by that is, let me just bring my KPI sheet here. So cost per purchase, right? So we're going to have our average order value here. Average fees is basically 3% for almost everyone. Average cost of goods and profit target. So this is the metrics for one of my store actually. So if we go with the average order value, which is $69.99 in my store, right, and the product cost is ranked like $52 or something. So average cost of goods is around $11 and profit target is 50%. So here it gives like everything. So if I want to have a profit of 50%, I need to average ROAS of 3.2 and break even ROAS of 1.2, right? So now we're going to see our break even, no profit no loss. Cost per content view is this one, cost per add to cart is this one, and cost per purchase is here, right? So if I want to be at 50% profit, my cost per initiate checkout, you can see here, it should be $19 and cost per purchase should be $28, right? So for example, if I'm spending in here, like for example, if I spending here, if my ad spends more than $28, right, without getting any purchase, that's when I turn it off, right? But this costs much more, right? We have cost per initiate checkout here as well, so we can count it as if your ad set, when you're testing, right, if the ad set spends more than 19.70 cents and don't get initiate checkout, then you can turn it off, right? But these prices are less reliable than this one. Like you don't need to do it with cost per content view because it's ridiculous, but you can start with cost per add to cart, cost per initiate checkout, or cost per purchase, right? And I don't know how your ad accounts may look like, because like at the moment the data isn't that much of accurate. If you don't have a good data analyst that can fix that for you, or some agency that fix that, they take a high price as well, which is ridiculous. But it's hard for you to make decisions, right? So we have two cost per purchases, as I explained to you before. This is break even. So if an ad set spend like around $74 and don't get a purchase, and that's when you're losing money, right? But if you spend $74 and get one purchase, then that's cool, right? Because your product average order value is $69. So this is, you're going to be still profitable, but like not profitable. You're going to be at break even here, right? So this is how I make my decisions. And of course you will get these metrics after you fill these, and you can fill this after you get some data on your store, right? After 2 weeks, 1 week running your store, we can add these variables here and get these prices, and when you get these prices, we can make your decisions much faster, right? But when you make the decisions, like when you turn off ad sets on $90 or 70 cents and you don't get initiate checkout and then you turn it off, that's going to be less reliable, right? Because it's not cost per purchase, you are not basically that much sure. But after you spend like that much of money, we say you have spent like $100,000 on your ad account, or 50k or something like that, your data going to be accurate, right? Like after 1 month, then your pixel is like seasoned as well, so you don't need to wait for this price. You can just turn it off at here or here. For me, basically I would turn off at cost per add to cart. If the ad spends my cost per add to cart and don't get an add to cart or something like that at $14 or $12, I would turn it off immediately, because like I know my pixel is seasoned, and like I have seen the winning like interest, right? When you launch a winning interest, you see like they get a first purchase after $5 spent. So I turned off immediately, and that's where I have a higher ROAS and better profit margins, because the first of all, I know my numbers, and the second one, you have a seasoned pixel, right? And you have the KPI sheet to count out your numbers. So this on the side, which explain this, can do the same with the add to cart if trying to save budget, but less reliable, as I told you before. So how will you run your interest campaigns, right? So you will choose only one country, guys. Don't mistake this with 4 countries, right? You will choose only one country. First, single interest, narrow to age, gender. If you're not 100% sure, just leave it broad, right? Automatic placement, 1-day click optimization if selling price is under $50, right? No, more than $50, sorry. Otherwise, leave it as 7-day click or 1-day view. And I understand as a beginner, your price going to be under $50, right? Because high ticket product, you cannot scale because you need budget for those. So it's going to be for your 7-day click or 1-day view. And same thing for second ad set and third ad set. And I recommend you to test up to 10 ad sets. at the beginning, right, in order to find your budget and find the best interest. And regarding the budget, of course, if you can start with $50. Me myself, I start with $50. If I'm going with the low ticket product, high ticket, I will do more budget, of course, because that requires more, right? But if you want, you can do $30 as well, so and see like how you can get the results and the data faster. But for me personally, I would just let it run at $50 a day and let it run for 2 days, and of course based on the KPI sheet I will just turn off ads and just scale the best ones. Okay, after that, meanwhile you're doing interest, after a while you're going to get data for lookalike audiences, which first of them I will recommend you to try. It's not 75% video viewers, it's 95%, because like of course, as I said before, after iOS update everything is kind of messed up right now. In my campaigns I'm not testing any, like basically lookalikes, website visitors, view content, add to cart, initiate checkout, all of them are trash, and I've been running this store for a long time, and basically it's not working, you know. So basically right now what is working for me is mostly interest, right, and creative testing. But this is basically what works for me. Maybe something works different for you and your ad account, depending on the country of course you're in. So this is the method for that. So initial data collection, now we're going to be 95%. Once you reach around 5,000, 95% video viewers on your creative, you can check it using your ad manager columns, of course. Create 95% video viewers lookalikes, launch your new campaigns as shown. Okay, so you can do this either by ABO or CBO, and of course that depends on your ad account. Please trust me, in some ad accounts that I use, sometimes ABO works for the lookalike, sometimes CBO works. Same goes with the testing. When I'm testing interest, sometimes ABO works, sometimes CBO works. So in one ad account can ABO work, and in other ad accounts, same in structure, same interest, same creative, same everything, CBO works. So you have to see what works in your ad account, right? So in case of ABO, you will do 95%, 1%, and then 1 to 2%, 2 to 3%, 3 to 4%, 4 to 5%. And if all of these work, you can go to 5 to 6%, 6 to 7%, 7 to 8%. If none of these work, you can go 0 to 2%, 2 to 4%, 4 to 6%, 6 to 8, and 8 to 10, and all of them have it in 5 segments, right? So you always have to try it. And sometimes for me, as I said before, lookalikes don't work, so I just stack all of the lookalikes together, for example 1 to 10% in one segment, and all of my lookalikes I just put them in one CBO and just give the budget like for $500 and just let it rip as that. But as I said before, you have to see what works for you. But in testing phase, as I said, this is how you do it, right? You either put it in ABO at first, and you see if you don't get the results that you like, you can test the same in the CBO and just give it $110 a budget and just let it run. CBOs usually they optimize after 2 to 3 days. So after first day, if you don't see good results, just please don't panic, just let it run. Facebook will optimize. So outside one will be 1% lookalikes, right? In custom audience section, leave everything else blood. Automatic placement, 1-day click, optimization if selling price is more than $50, otherwise leave it. And the creative will be your best creative or creatives that you have, right? And then we have 1 to 2%, 2 to 3%, 3 to 4%, 4 to 5. There wasn't enough space, so I didn't put it. So the budget for that, of course, as I said before, if you want to get the results faster, you just put it $30 and you let it run for 2 days. If you want it like $50, let it run for 3 days, right? For me, I take my time. Even though I have the budget, I just let it run for $50 and just let it see how it reacts during the day, you know, different times of the day in 2 days to see if the results are accurate. Okay, so with all that being said, we are at troubleshooting checkpoint. So here is when you're just going to decide if the product is worth scaling, like worth making your money, or just doesn't matter, like it's another bad product, so you just need to move on. So we're going to go through that. So at this point, if you have tested 3 good creatives, and 3 good creatives, you have to decide that is 3 good creatives, and you're not deciding that. Facebook is going to do that, and you're going to see which one is a better creative by looking at ad manager columns. Tested 3 good creatives and haven't identified any profitable audiences. The problem is like your offer. So what I mean by that, maybe your website is a little bit bad, or maybe your website is good, your product price is too high. And how you can see that? You can see that by your conversion rate, right? You can see like how many people have went to the website and how many people have made the purchase. And if your offer is good, you can see, okay, 300 people went to initiate checkout, but only 80 people purchase, right? And that's most likely when you're doing it in Europe, because in that case you don't have their famous payment method, right? If you have the famous payment method, they can trust you better, and like they can make a purchase on your website. So you need to get that payment, guys. And then identify where the drop is happening. View your Shopify store analytics, as I explained just recently. If you feel like there's nothing else to improve, consider switching product or starting over. So if you see your creatives are good and basically your conversion rate on the website is good as well, but it's not profitable, maybe it's not the time for the product, maybe it's a seasonal product, or just someone else is maybe scaling it in that country that you are doing it, so it's just time to move on. Work on fixing it before opening more on testing audiences, otherwise we will look like you will lose money, right? So you need to fix the problems before you continue to test, so make sure you do that. And if you don't see improvement, just please move on and go to the next product. Okay guys, so now I explained to you initial creative test, right, and initial data collection. Now we're going to go to the third step, which is data driven targeting, right? It's all about scaling, so let's get on to the fun. Okay, so next step will be data driven targeting. Keep the testing interest audiences inside your interest sandbox campaign. So you always will keep testing new interests in an interest sandbox campaign, right? And in some time after scaling for a long time, you will run out of the interest that is related to the niche, so you need to explore other interests, right? And you need to have the avatar of who are the people that are purchasing. So for example, if this person is a woman, or you're in a specific, like for example niche, we say woman, okay, Karen, right? We have Karen here. How old is Karen? Karen is between 25 to 30 year old. What is Karen interest? And you can see that by customers that been purchasing here. So by looking at your columns, right, you see like what age range your customers are, what are their interests, what kind of products are you selling them, right? All of this stuff reveals your customers. And basically one pro tip that I can give you is you can go to your Shopify store, right, and see what customers have made the biggest purchase, like have spent the most on your website, and those are basically your favorite customers. And after that you can see their name, address, and everything. So basically you will take their name, right, you will find their Instagram account or Facebook account, which they always have, right? That's how they find you, because we're running Facebook ads or Instagram. They have found you via there, and you can check their profile and see what are their interests, what are they liking, like what are their interests, what are their friends, what are they talking about. And you can just make an avatar of your customers and see like how they look like, and basically what are they after, right? So that's how you can navigate what more interests outside of your niche you can choose in order to have the best results. And that's basically what works for me. So after finding a good interest, you have to launch a new interest similar to the top performers in the creative sandbox campaign, right, in order to find more good creatives. And you will of course now done by age range, country will be one country only, as I always say, but age but age will be different, of course. Your goal is to 5 consistent profitable interest audiences, consistently profitable at least over 3 days with 9 to 10 purchases, right? And that will be very good, so you can scale them into a CBO. And with the data driven targeting with lookalikes is almost same as interest, right? But with interest, mostly when the interest works, we might get like 8 to 5 purchases in the past 2 to 3 days, we say, right? I will duplicate that interest into a CBO 3 times, not 5 times. I know some people say 5 times, but when you scale, you're going to have an ad limit creation on your page, which is $250. And after you spend around $100 more on that page within a month, Facebook will increase that ad creation limit to 1,000 or something like that. So if you're trying to scale and if you are duplicating all of your winning interest 5 times, you're not going to have enough space in the page to create more interest, to test more stuff. So I recommend you only to duplicate the winning interest 3 times into a CBO and just let it run for 2 days, 3 days, see how it performs, right? And let me tell you this, in some interest, like for example, I see the interest get like 10 purchases, right? 10 purchases in a sandbox campaign, and I scale it into a CBO. I give it budget of $100 to $120. It works well. And then I increase the budget to $200. The performance drops dramatically, guys. So I need to tell you that some interest works with a different budget. So even though if it is a winning interest, if you give it like $300 budget, it might not perform very good. So that is only winning interest around $100 to $150. If you try to scale it, it will die. and some interests only perform at the high budget. So I have some interests that like didn't work very good, right? I was scaling it into CBO, $120 wasn't the case, and then just one day I increased it to $200 because I had this theory that sometimes it can work with a better budget if I let it optimize. So that creative didn't work on $120, but when I put it like $250 a day budget, the ROAS was like 3 to 4. So creatives depend on the budget as well, so please keep that in mind. And yeah, have that pro tip from me, because after testing so many things, that both basically worked for me. So you can launch a new campaigns for each lookalikes once you have in-app data more than 5,000. I would recommend same instruction as the 95% lookalikes, right? You will do everything the same as I told you before. If a campaign spend is more than 2x your break-even cost per purchase, as I'm going to show you in the KPI sheet here, guys. So if that's more than that, you need to turn it off. Once you find the 2-3 consistent profitable lookalikes, you're ready for super lookalike scaling, which is you will take all of the lookalikes in one CPU and just let it rip. Scaling is very easy. It's just mostly testing and basically creative testing and see all of this data that is very important, that is leading up to the scaling basically. Okay guys, so now we went through the initial creative test, initial data collection, and data driven targeting, right? And now we're going to go to creative optimization. And as you can see, like all of these steps are very easy, but the main important thing is initial creative test. Like if you don't find a good creative, these won't come, because like if you have a good creative, you will get purchases, and scaling is basically very easy. Like a little kid can do it after like 1 hour if you teach them, right? But reading the data and seeing like what works and what does not work, and be able to market like how to make the good creative, right? How to have the actors. For example, if you're testing a product, it really depends on the actor as well, that if the actor relate to your audiences. For example, I was selling in Sweden and I was testing different actors, right? Content creators from Instagram, like which one like gets more to my demographic, and I was selling mostly to women, right? And so, as you know, Swedish people are mostly blonde and have green eyes and everything. So I was testing content creators, right? And one of them was like, one of the content creators was very famous, and she was like doing everything, all of this stuff, and she made the content for us, and I posted that content, and content performed good. And we had another freelancer. She was basically looking like Swedish people, but she wasn't Swedish, of course. She had the blonde hair, and the content creator that made it first one, she had the black hair and wasn't like really like Swedish people. So you can guess by now like which content creator worked better. And the blonde one content creator gave us like average of 4 ROAS with the creative, but the best but the content we got from the content creator that she had the black hair, and basically she was more famous, and she was like had more profession, like had more basically experience to making content. Her content didn't work that well, because I'm telling you, like testing is very important, and some actors content performs better than the last one. So we test actors as well. Okay, send us a video, and then we test the creatives in Facebook. The best creative that work better, we only work with those actors with this store, so they only keep creating content for us every week based on a contract, and then we will edit it and do all of the stuff, add the animations and stuff, and we just test those creatives and continue to scale. Okay guys, now on the last step will be creative optimization. This step does not necessarily come after the previous steps. This step should always be active if you want to scale. I'm telling you, if you want to scale your brand past 6 figures to 7 figures, even 8 figures, you need to have creative optimization. Like you need to test damn creatives all the time, guys. You have no idea how much money, you have no idea like how much I spend, but I have friends that spend like 6 figures on creatives every month, because they're like scaling so many stores, right? And they're just getting creatives in all the time, because this is very important part that nobody basically talks about. Just say, yeah, this strategy works, that strategy works, but all of them are bullshit. This strategy, if you take it, is maybe bullshit if you're not doing the creative optimization. So please don't forget that. You can start optimizing creatives right away inside of the Create Salmon campaign. Test a new creative your top audiences identified so far. So this works hand to hand, right? You will find your best audience, best interest, right, with your best creative. right? And with those best audiences that you find, you can test new creatives, right? Because they're already your best and most valuable audiences. So you test new creative with your best audiences, right? And with the best creatives, you will find the best audiences, right? So this goes hand to hand like a circle, so you can always do that. Once you find a creative that performs better than your current best, duplicate it into all of your campaigns, basically best winning campaigns, best winning CBOs, and just keep scaling it, guys. So that will be it. Yeah. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed this video. This was it for today's video. Before I end the video, I wanted to announce the last week consultation code winner, which is, so all you need to do is send the proof that this is your profile so we can get your consultation code. So guys, see you next time.